in the a cappella world, there seems to be this idea of rules and barriers and boundaries and stuff like that. And I think we've decided to throw them out and just embark upon a whole new direction and not really concern ourselves with whether we're cheating vocally or not by adding as many backup tracks as we did and manipulating the sound so much that you wouldn't even recognize it as being a human voice.
There was an album done in 1985 by a guy named Todd Rundgren, who's producer, songwriter. He's been in the industry a lot of years, but he did an a cappella album in 1985 that was basically the same kind of idea. Same concept as the one we just recorded. And he totally manipulated his vocals through sound effects.
Samples and triggering.
Yeah. And basically, we decided that to take his idea, and it was done in '85. This project was done in 1987. There's so much more technology they have now, and it's just amazing what you can do.
It's working.
We wanted to see how far we could push the boundaries of using only human voices, but manipulating them so much that you wouldn't recognize them as being human voice anymore.
Well, the human voice is really the oldest instrument. Like, it was, I'm sure it's the first music was created with the human voice, and it's taking that element and kind of bringing it into 1997, 98, and using the technology of today, but using the total organic sound of the voice, and kind of creating a whole different style of music. And
it's a neat concept, using the oldest of technologies plus the newest of technologies in order to create this mesh of cyber sound, I guess. When we first started working on the project, we had to find the right individuals to work with so that they would create the sound that we were looking for. And we started with a guy named Dave Mockford. Originally, he was to be our sound engineer, but became a co-producer throughout the project. And he suggested Darryl Neudorf, who had been working in Vancouver in the underground music scene for some time. Also, he was big into new electronic sounding music and stuff like that. And he had also worked on the Sarah McLachlan Touch album, I think. And so we met with Darryl a few months later, and we all sat down and hashed out the details and decided that we're going to start this in June of this year, '97. Darryl then listened to all the arrangements and picked the ones that he thought would be best to represent what we were going for, and then took them to the next level.
Interesting time we had in the studio actually just creating sounds, because this album wasn't, it was recorded a little bit differently than the last two albums. The last two we just set up 4 mics, did a lot of it live off the floor.
All 7 and we'll watch them fall. They stand in the way of love and we will smoke them all.
This one was a lot more piece by piece, and had quite the bit of laughter through some of the sessions.
I think, did you go in with a bucket on your head?
Yeah, well actually BJ with some of the vocal percussion, to get kind of the reverberation of the pail, we took a plastic garbage can and stuck it over his head with the mic and created some of the drum sound. So you kind of hear the snare, the skin sound with the reverberation of the garbage can. So it was quite interesting. We
had a lot of fun with it. It was really, since it was our own songs, we could do whatever we wanted with them, and it really gave us a lot of freedom to try and experiment different things.
Pardon me?
You know what might be cool?
Yeah.
I will not fight this anymore. And then cut out.
More.
See where you drop down to the G?
Alright, sure.
Here we go.
What do I justify the lies? I will not fight this anymore.
spent a lot more time in the studio with this album.
Yeah.
We were in the studio, actually, we basically rented the space for about 2 months, or just over 2 months.
We recorded at Cyan Digital Media. One of the toughest things I found about the whole project was actually telling the difference between Darryl and Dave. I think one of the most important things and different things that we did with this album was to really invest a lot of time and effort into making sure the sound was where we wanted it to be. And we decided to go to a world-class studio in Vancouver called The Warehouse, which is owned by Brian Adams.
Brian Adams' own personal squirrel.
And when we went there, we wound up working with a mixing engineer named Dean Maher. And Dean added a lot to the project. He took it one step further, and he wound up doing a lot of the mixing, which wasn't what we had originally planned on, but he did a phenomenal job.
And I try freedom, freedom, I'll never understand. Freedom, freedom.
A lot of, not quite as much vocal harmony. There's still a lot of that element in there, but it's a little more dance oriented. So, I guess it would be a cross between Savage Garden, U2 Pop / Chemical Brothers, if you can imagine that idea.
I think it's important for people to understand that we're not completely leaving a cappella behind. What we're doing is we're expanding it. Once the album's released, we're going to be working on a brand new show that'll be coming out in about September of '98, where we'll be using backup tracks to recreate the sound of the album and the sound of our new show, and I guess our sound in general. I guess what we're trying to do is create a much bigger sound, and the only way to do that would be to add up backup tracks. But all the tracks are still have vocal origins.
We've got a lot of positive response, and it's looking like it could be a good future for STREETNiX.